Good morning, everyone. Hello, hello. Especially good morning to our West Coast people. It's early on a Sunday morning. We're glad to have you. Welcome to the Ideation Open Mic and Jam. We're ready to have some caffeine and get some ideas flowing. We're going to be talking about social tokens, bumps along the way, and basically what are some problems that we'd like to see solved, and how do we sort of drill down and get specific and start solving. So my name is Nicole Davis. I work with Seed Club. I'm helping to run the social token track as part of the Open Web Community Hackathon. Near team, thank you so much for having us. Jordan, James, and Chloe, y'all are awesome. Some really good sessions yesterday and Friday. And make sure you go back and watch all of those sessions on Friday. They were excellent. And with me, I've got some Seed Club family. So we're going to go down the line. Jess, can I invite you to introduce yourself?
Jeff.
Oh, you're very quiet to me.
Come back.
Oh, there you were. Okay. All right. It is very early on the West Coast. Jeff, how about we go to you? Welcome. We're glad to have you. These are all part of the Seed Club family. What time zone are you in, and who are you?
So I think Jeff is muted, or is that just for me?
Okay, I can hear you, Andrew. So I was like, wow, I had issues with sound yesterday in AirMeet. So like, I don't know if I'm being gaslit. I don't know what's going on. Andrew, since we can hear you, let's go with you.
Yeah, sure.
Are you in a
so
cabin?
I'm actually I'm in Costa Rica. If you've heard of Selena, I'm in one of those. It's like WeWork vibes, but for like digital nomad types. Yeah, exactly. So my name's Andrew. I was part of Seed Club 2, and I've been kind of in the creator economy through my previous company, which is a podcast company. Basically bootstrapped the whole portfolio of shows, all covering emerging market tech and innovation industries. And so when I came across social tokens and NFTs last summer, it was just a huge light bulb for me. It was like, whoa, like this is a really powerful asset class. It's going to completely change the game in many different ways. And so I kind of started to just ideate and really dialed in on how can I use this new asset class of social tokens to impact the area that I was focused on with the podcast, which was Africa's tech and innovation industries. And so we have been working on this idea for, 5 years now, just like initially through the podcast vehicle, but now through social tokens. And we basically designed a social token community that is focused on creating new funding and monetization opportunities for African artists. So we're leveraging an archive that is a media company based in Nairobi, Kenya. And we're dropping that as quarterly NFTs, and then have built this social token community as like a vehicle, as a connective tissue between the quarterly NFT drops. And everything is focused on leveraging these historical assets to inspire Africa's future by leveraging the proceeds to commission artists to produce art under the theme of Afrofuturism. So that's kind of the social token community that we designed. Seed Club was, just amazingly helpful and really going through that whole process of like just figuring out what is this social token asset class and what is the power of it, what can it do. So super grateful to be here, super grateful for Jess for everything he's done for the social token space and what he's doing through Seed Club.
Cool. Well, thank you, Andrew. And I know that you had to sort of build a bunch of solutions along the way, so we're going to get into that. Jess, let's try you again. All right. Well, Chloe, if you have any tips, maybe message Jess.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. You can check the settings for your audio and mic, and you can kind of test it out as well, Jess.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. And Jess, I know you woke up early to join us, so If it works, cool. If not, we'll survive. All right, Jeff, please. Hi.
All right, back in action. Time zone, Central Time Zone, Dallas, Texas. But yeah, similar to Andrew, I went through the Seed Club cohort recently, started a community called Jump. And the whole idea behind this community is that it's a community for advertising professionals, Web3 startups, and marketers at Fortune 1000 brands. So how do we start to bridge the gap between this new technology and this new space and start to bring the really smart people that sit within these advertising agencies and sort of the capital that sits within these large brands and start to migrate that thinking and that activity away from Web 2 social platforms and into the Web 3 ecosystem. So really one simple analogy for Jump is that with any kind of new technology, a lot of industries will have a trade association. And so in some sense, Jump is a next generation trade association, but since it leverages Web3 fundamentals like tokenomics, it kind of unlocks a way to operate in the way that trade organizations couldn't operate previously or coordinate themselves previously or capture value previously. And so the idea behind Jump and kind of operating it like a Web3 community versus a traditional trade organization is that by actively building community around certain professional network, we in turn learn the space and then can help brands like Nike and Red Bull and some of these other, very well respected brands enter the space and ideally partner with tokenized communities. So imagine, we can just use an example of an extremely passionate and tokenized community around running. Well, what could Nike come in and do to help further their cause or partner with them in some mutually beneficial way, rather than just dumping a bunch of ad dollars into Facebook? So
amazing. Yeah, and you've got, a community, a large community that you're building where there might be some like curiosity, but certainly like suspicion and like just feeling like, the space is very unfamiliar. And so I think that curious to hear sort of what you're looking for or your needs as this space builds out, because I think like onboarding and supportive UX would be really important for that community.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see, Jess. Okay, now you're just straight up muted. Oh no, here we are. Wow. I am so sorry. Austin, let's go to you, and then why don't we jump into the conversation, because we've got some great folks here that are eager to hear more and I think ask questions and contribute as well.
Check 1, 2. Can you all hear me? Check. Yes, okay, cool. Yeah, my name is Austin. I'm a co-founder of Ampled, which is a platform for direct community support of musicians formed as a co-op. So the platform is collectively owned by the artists and workers, and interested in exploring how community tokens can work within cooperative structures to the benefit of all of our members, and potentially be used for other cooperatives as well. So that's where I come from, and participated in Seed Club along with Nicole, who's on the board of Ampled. And I have to go in a second, but I just wanted to pop in and say hi. And then I threw in some ideas in the Seed Club Discord as well. But
thank you for being here. And yeah, I think that we'll continue to hit Austin up throughout these next weeks and see if there's people interested in iterating on some of these ideas that he contributed. So thanks for jumping in, Austin. All right, so let's head in, because we also have some folks from the other DAOs that were interested in during the breakouts. So for the last little bit of time, and just like if continue to like interrupt me if you want to just continue to check your audio. If I hear your voice, then I'm happy to pass the mic whenever we can.
And I would recommend unplugging the Yeti.
This is an Ideation Open Mic. I've been seeing. Hello?
I would just say I would recommend for Jess unplug the Yeti. I've had some problems with Yeti and like compatibility for stuff in the past.
Yeah, and Jess, for what it's worth, others were having some audio issues yesterday too, so you're in good company. So we wanted to hold this space today. I've done a lot of work in the past around like ideation, refining ideas, and I think that the best sort of like image or analogy is thinking of like sort of two mirrored sine waves, and what you're going to want to do is like go broad, go narrow, go broad, go narrow, and that's sort of where like the best creative process comes through. I was lurking around the forums a little bit, and I see definitely a lot of sort of like broad vision, and there's a lot of you out there that are like hacking and have some like really big ideas on how to build something or how to sort of like solve some major problems. And so I think one of the things we're going to challenge you to do today, and then through the ideation little pitches that you're going to be submitting in the forums, is to refine your idea, because you have a set amount of time for this first sort of set of weeks until June 5th and 6th. And the DAOs will be here. They will continue to be here. And I think, the hope is obviously that you're going to continue to build on whatever it is that you make. But within this first month, you're going to want to really focus your idea. So we've got the other DAOs here as well. We have the Generative Art DAO. We've got Yassine, and we've got Vandal from the Music Focus DAO. So thank you guys for being here as well. And I think for the first little bit, and if there's others here from other of the tracks, please jump in as well. Let's jump in and just talk a little bit about, Jeff and Andrew, what are some of the, and actually Chloe, maybe if you wanted to just invite.
Also a question from Vandal. I'll ask it out. What is the best way to discover the initial value of a community token? And
okay, well, yeah,
let's.
Yes, yeah, and then why don't you invite Yassine and Vandal up too, and then we can just kind of open the floor. So why don't we start with that question, and then what I'd like to do is also open it up into some of the other hurdles and challenges, and like just what, as Jeff and Andrew and others, as you were going about building your communities and getting ready to launch your tokens, what have been the hurdles that you've come up against? So you're like, I wish that this thing existed. I wish somebody would build this. Andrew, you, I think, built something. Yeah, if you want to respond to Vandal's question, please do. But I think in general also, like, what were some of the pieces that you needed to get built, or, are in the process of trying to find solutions for?
Cool. So I can, I guess, kick that off. I guess Vandal's question. It's a great question. Oh wait, you guys can hear me, right? I'm coming through. Hello.
Yes, you're coming through loud and clear.
Yeah. Okay. Hear you. All right. Thank you. It's a great question. It's such an early stage of this asset class. I think one of the best ways to look at that is what's happening with friends with benefits. The initial value of a community, like the social token asset class, is the tokenized value of a specific brand or a specific community. And so it's pretty much like up to the open market, what's the price settling at on something like Uniswap. And I think it's important to look at like the trading volume. So like if you think about a social token that has a $5 million market cap, but the trading volume is like, $10, maybe $100 a day, like that's not really it's not that accurate of like a valuation of the entire network. And so I would really think about what like the market cap, but also like what is the trading volume? Because if there has to be meaningful trading volume in order for there to like be a market for the price to actually settle at, right? So I think in the early days, just like in the early days of crypto, like the price is pretty, I mean, somewhat arbitrary, you know, relative to like the social or perceived social value of the community that underlines the token. But there's not, I mean, I wouldn't say that there's like a concrete answer to like the best way to value it, other than just like it's the reflected of the value of the community itself and the engagement that the community is actually putting in to the you know, to that token. What would you say, Jeff?
Yeah, I would. The way that I would think about value for a social token is to not first look at the actual monetary cost of the token or the supply of the token or any of those kind of like traditional financial metrics. Is to think about like, why would someone just want to be a part of the community? Because when we see what the social tokens actually do is, and the way we talk about them a lot is, how do we build utility into the token? So what can you do with the token? And a very simple use case that a lot of communities have deployed is gated access. So hold X number of tokens to be able to enter a private Discord channel. And so the Discord just kind of like looks at your wallet and makes sure you have the appropriate number of tokens to enter that community. And so that's where these tokens start to have value. And that's sort of the really interesting aspect about this space, is that people are drawn to the community because of the value that they get by having those tokens. But then they sort of get that participation gets supercharged because those tokens are liquid and can increase in value over time. And so you kind of get this reinforcing behavior of, you know, I came for the friends, but I get all this extra benefit, and that as we create value together, we actually now have a way to capture that value through a social token or a community token in a way that we've never been able to capture the value before. So for Jump, for example, the non-monetary value is you work at an advertising agency, you work at a brand in a marketing position, or you're at a Web3 startup and you would love to talk to advertising agencies or marketers at Fortune 1000 brands. So the value is you come to this community and you network with these the people that can help you advance your professional career. That's the value of that community. And then it just so happens that that value can be captured and the community can monetize itself in sort of a new way that we couldn't do previously.
So Jeff,
yes,
I know that obviously Discord is really sort of popular and is the place to be, but I think also, there's communities outside of Discord, both like physically and digitally. I know one of the things that Austin had mentioned he was interested in seeing, and I think that there had been a little bit of people had been playing around with this a little bit in like years past, was around actual physical spaces also, where tokens could give access to, a club or a community space or something like that. So I know that was especially like, for Ampled, which is a music artist and worker co-op, having a physical space in a place like New York where there's a ton of artist and worker members, and having a space, like a work bar, WeWork type space, but focused on Ampled, is something we've been sort of like talking and playing around with. I guess, there are like some great bots, and James and the team at Collabland have been building some great bots out there that work between tokens and Discord. And obviously there's some in the near Discord that we've been playing around with. But I guess I'm curious, sort of beyond that, are there some bot functions that don't yet exist or are a little bit clunky? And I'm going to open that question up to everybody, not just Jeff and Andrew, but Vandal and Yassine, if you want to share a little bit too about like what y'all have been up to and things that you'd like to see.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify my question as well. It's like, so
hi guys.
Can you guys hear me?
I'm Yassine, and I'm part of the.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you. You see, or I guess Vandal's been trying to get his point out for a couple times now. Can we just let him go first?
Awesome. Yeah, so I wasn't sure if you guys could hear me or not. So basically, okay, we've got a community of, let's say, 200 people, right? We have utility for a token, let's say, for grants and various activities within the community, Discord and Telegram, that we could program into a bot, say, and reward people that way through tipping. We have the opportunity to utilize tokens for purchasing NFTs, for example, from some of the artists in the collective. So what I wanted to understand is what's a good way to look at creating the initial value of the token. So let's say we're using a Uniswap or a Ref Finance pool in NEAR to then create the initial liquidity pool to set the value of the token. So when looking at setting the initial value of the token, what are some of the thoughts that you have in terms of going into setting that value? I think that was my primary question, of just trying to understand that initial value for the token. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So, but when you say initial value, what you mean is initial price, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty arbitrary. I guess the question I would ask to you is like, if you have this engaged community, like, well, I guess one option would be to airdrop the token to everybody. The other way, Jess, I'm sure Jess has a couple ways. He's in the chat. But I guess, setting, I wouldn't necessarily think about like, how can I sell the token? I would think, because I would create some sort of package, whether that's like an NFT that you're selling, and then the tokens are like, a reward for buying the NFT. But I don't know, my opinion on this, like with the community that we're building out, like we're not going to be setting the price, and we're not going to be selling tokens. The tokens exist as a reward layer for the community to reward engagement, to reward buying NFTs. Like the first NFT we sold was 2.2 Ethereum. And then on top of that, they got tokens. And so like the way we're engineering our community, like I don't necessarily care, what the token is being traded for on Uniswap. I just want, the initial value of the community itself to be established. And then the token will, just through pure supply and demand on Uniswap, the price will kind of stabilize. Jess just dropped some value bombs in the chat if you want to take a look at that as well.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily about selling the token or anything like that. It was more
and I know Jess often talks about the lean token approach, that like I think that you don't necessarily know what your community, and they might not know what they're going to want to be able to do, and thus what the sort of end value is going to be of that token. So sometimes I don't know, Jess, our meat is not loving me either. Vandal, I'm sure you said some brilliant things. For some reason, I couldn't hear you at all, but Andrew could. So Andrew, I'm going to just invite you to host here along with me. All right. Well, Yassine, why don't we go back to you? I was able to hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, cool. So I've been a part of the Generative Arts Council, and I'm working on how to connect generative art projects to a social token. And what I've been working on lately is what Andrew was saying, to creating the generative art NFT. In some way, the actions that happen on the interface, a bit like an art blocks, give you access to the fungible token. And then all the projects that are part of these, let's say me as an artist, all the projects that I will create and which interface I build myself and which I make sure are also standards for the other platforms, but all the interfaces, whatever you interact with it, you get also a fungible token. And then you go on the front end of that fungible token, then you start building a community there. And then maybe at the beginning, it's just going to be like for 3, called it YSN for now, but for 3 YSN, I give you 1 hour of, I don't know, front end development or something. And then that's kind of the idea, at least at the beginning. But I agree, it's good to like build the community and then see where the price goes after. It's long after, but yeah.
So pricing and value, I think right now, and yeah, Vandal, what you're saying is, I think, huge. That like, yeah, it's going to be determined. And I think that also like what people see it as being valuable for. I mean, I think that there's all sorts of tokens out there that we've seen climb in kind of unprecedented ways that you can't necessarily always anticipate. I want to give a chance for people to connect a little bit more directly and like ask questions and iterate a little bit. So given the tech challenges that we've been experiencing, what I'm going to suggest, and Chloe, if you can just make sure that I'm understanding the functions of AirMeet correctly, I think that we can go out into some tables, is I think what they're called. So why don't we do that for about like 10, 15 minutes, and then we will come back and just sort of hear some last thoughts. I will be jumping around within the tables and listening in, helping people focus a little bit. I'd love to hear some of the ideas of what people are looking to build. So Andrew, Jeff, Jess, there's a really high chance that your audio may work in the tables, if not like, I don't know, they've been a little funky. So why don't we break out and then we'll come back around the 45-minute mark.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, everyone.
Let's see how this works. Here we are.
Awesome, and we're back up now.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back. Thanks for letting me lurk in your conversations. So 2 interesting little tables. I didn't get to join the music one, but I saw Brenda and Vandal were in there. So what I'd like to do, given that we had some tech challenges at the very outset, is maybe just come back, share back a little bit, and then, basically like we are here to, continue to like be of value and give feedback. Or that you're working through, please reach out. But maybe let's hear from maybe just like a couple brief highlights from the various tables of ideas that people are thinking of working on. Chloe, would you be willing to share out, sorry to put you on the spot, but would you be willing to maybe just share any like highlights or ideas that people are working on from the table that you sat in?
Yeah, for sure. Well, from our table, I know we had a few people who were coming in who were quite new. And so they had interest in a few different areas. But I think, so like Yassine on the Generative Art DAO has been kind of talking about his ideas, and I think formulating just recently about potentially having a token to kind of give some rewards and also get some community involvement with his projects. So, I mean, I feel like Yassine, who's on stage, should probably be sharing most of the idea. But I think a quick rundown, Yassine, of your token economics you're thinking about using. I know you haven't actually formulated it fully yet, so it might be cool to kind of have you come up, talk through what your ideas are so far, and maybe, in a few weeks from now, we can kind of see what you actually end up with. Might be cool.
So, I mean, as I was saying, I'm working on 2 projects that are related to generative art, and one is with machine learning, and the other one is with the front-end JavaScript creative coding. they all exist in the browser, let's say in the front end. So my idea was to first create all the NFT smart contracts for Near, which is mostly done, and to use all the royalties part and to set up a social token behind these NFT contracts. So the idea is that whenever you generate, whenever you burn, whenever you transfer any of these tokens or NFTs on Near, you will be rewarded on the back. So it's actually a cross-contract call that is happening to the social token, and you'll be rewarded in that part of with the social token, and then you go in the social token page, which is a front end I'm building, where you can use that token to do things like the ideas at the beginning. For now, I'm experimenting with ideas. So it might be that I do like coding for you, like for, I don't know, 1 hour of consulting for like front end development, or so you can get access to a Discord with that token, or you can, I don't know, I can send you one of the prints of the, like I have like fine arts prints I do for with the art, so I can send you one of those if you have, I don't know, 10 of the tokens, and then take it from there into maybe a DAO with Sputnik version 2, which is about to happen, which is already there, but only on the command line for now. But and then just build a community around there without having any max supplies or anything, but just building it as it's used and as it has meaning to exist.
Yeah, awesome. I think personally, I would love to see more projects use this kind of experimentation for the token supply. So I know we have a bunch of people from, Seed Club on here who kind of are experimenting with tokens as well. It'd be super cool. I'm hoping to do something similar with a social token experiment of where there's no max supply and the only way to earn these tokens are through, doing a proposal, submitting it to a DAO, and having some initial council of community vote on this minting. But obviously foraging into the crypto world alone is never as fun as doing it with a community. So the more people that are experimenting this way is more fun. So if you're watching this as well, come on board, whatever kind of crazy token economics you have to kind of incentivize your community. There's these wonderful people on stage that you've been hearing from and talking the tables with who will support you with that as well. And Nicole, I'll let you kind of take it away and end off with what next steps are.
Sure. Well, I wanted to highlight 2 cool little discussions that happened at the social token table. I jumped around a little bit, so I'm sure I missed some other pearls. But when I first was in the conversation, we were talking about beer and social tokens and the launch of the beer token, which is each token is backed by an actual can of beer. I didn't get to ask what happens when that can of beer gets drunk, so I'm curious about that. But some cool integrations between like the label or voting for flavors and all of the interesting ways that beer really is actually like this sort of creative space, and that creative communities sort of convene around beer, and the ways that a token could help organize and elevate that community. And then on the other side, we were talking about sort of like wallet functions. And Andrew, can you, I don't want to dive too deep, but can you maybe just share really briefly like what the problem was that you were trying to solve, and currently how you are solving for that? Because I think that in particular is probably something that a lot of people are thinking about. And I think it really exemplifies what we're working on here over the next few weeks. So what was your challenge?
Yeah, so I guess there were 2 kind of roadblocks we hit along the way with like the current state of like the issuance platforms that were available. The first one we came across was just like the issuance fee of 12% was just a little bit too high for us. And then the other one, Coinvise, we wanted like an email-based wallet that we can allow people to just like log in and claim their tokens that way, versus like having to use MetaMask, which is still like very esoteric for normal people. And so we basically decided with Afrofuture that we would build our own token issuance platform and wallet. And the way we built it, it's a non-custodial wallet with email login and password recovery. And the way we're able to do that is when a user creates their account with email, password, there's a private key that's encrypted and stored locally in their browser. there's another private key that is encrypted and stored by our technology partner, AmbaSafe, who helped us build the platform. And so those two private keys are required to each sign off whenever someone sends money out of the wallet. And then there's a third private key that a third-party firm holds. And the only functionality of that private key is password recovery. And so this allows us to kind of bridge the best of both worlds of a non-custodial storage, as well as the ability to have an email-based account and recover your password if you forget it or lose it. And so we decided to launch that on Ethereum and Celo. And the way we're building it is all transfers internally, it's called Social Stack. All transfers internally from one Social Stack wallet to another, we're basically going to be doing with Celo. And so you're going to be able to send an Ethereum token from one Social Stack wallet to another completely free, because internally we're using Celo for all the transfers. And so by building, and that functionality will be done within the next 2 weeks. But the wallet is live right now at socialstack.co. But the reason we built that is because it kind of solves all the challenges that we were facing with issuing the Afrofuture token.
That's wild. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think it's a great example of hopefully what is going to be going on in this ecosystem as well. Vandal, any highlights, keeping in mind that I'm going to depend on Andrew to make sure that we can hear you, because for some reason I couldn't hear you. But anything that you'd like to share from your table?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess you can hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I switched the headphones and everything, so I figured, maybe this is going to work better. Yeah, I'm still kind of stuck around the initial token price when you're starting off, and around what price that might be, and then of course the utility within the community and how you can offer it to people. And I'm more sort of community oriented in the sense where it's like participation should be rewarded as opposed to selling of the tokens per se. So looking at how to integrate those elements, whether through tip bots in Discord or Telegram, and then also for like activities like bounties, for example, within the community. So for NXM, the Music Guild on Near, looking at setting up a social token for NXM. What are the various things that community members can participate in to receive the tokens? What can they use them for? And these are the kind of things I've been inviting members of the community to come in to have the conversations, so that it's open and it's transparent with everybody's input involved. And I think that's just one of the important things that I feel is like the community should be involved in the process, and determining, how the token's going to be used, and at least starting to be able to learn, so that at a certain point for any project that they want to do, they can then, create a social token around that and have that sort of understanding already. But yeah, I think that's just a few thoughts from me in terms of social tokens. And I think there are a lot of things that are being built, and I really am one who loves to see interoperability. So ultimately, I think that we are going to get there. We're still at the very early stages, and there's so much experimentation going on that, I guess if you want to try a social token, try something maybe that's just for fun, an experimental kind of project kind of thing, rather than say doing something serious right away for the first time. So that might be an idea to play around with.
I love that, and I think that this is a great space to do that. Jeff, before we jump off, I just wanted to see if there's anything, I know I missed some of the table conversation, but were there any things that you heard that you were like, yeah, like I hope somebody builds that, or like any functions that you're looking to get built? Any highlights before we jump off?
Yeah, I mean, for my project in particular, and I think this goes for a lot of projects, is that we are building communities and sort of purpose for a lot of people that aren't familiar with this space. And so they need a lot of easy tools and ways to understand and kind of bring people along slowly. So I think tools like what Andrew's building with Social Stack and anything else that just kind of strips away the complexity of it is really good. And at the end of the day, like some of the old rules of thumb in building anything new in uncharted territories is just do whatever's simplest. What's the most simple version or action, and just do that. So I think that's kind of a common theme that I see across a lot of projects is or successful projects is just leaning into the simplest version and simplest idea and simplest steps to just accomplish some goal.
Yeah, well, that's the perfect place to end. I think that like get your MVP out there, get some feedback, find what works, find what people love, and then from there, like that's your charge, right? Like once you've got something that people can respond to and use, you're going to start learning a lot more about what your community wants to do and who your community is. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for hanging tough through this digital world, and hopefully you're leaving with more questions than answers. That was our plan for today, was get the questions, get the creative juices flowing, and then get those ideation little digests written. So hopefully some of you will be joining in the social token space. We're also interested in a lot of like sort of interconnected ideas, and I think that social tokens can play well with a lot of the other tracks as well. Vandal, Yassine, thanks for joining, and C Club family, Jess, thanks for hanging out, and Nir, thanks for having us. We'll see you online, and we'll see you soon.